Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us and welcome to our September user group meeting. Kevin O'Rourke is going to give us an update now on some CloseReach news. Kevin?
Thanks, Cecile. Just a bit of an update on the CloseReach infrastructure. We talked a little bit about it last time. We're upgrading our support portal. In the past, our support portal has only been open to primary, secondary, and technical users. And we're going to open that up to everybody to report problems and issues. I may regret this, but I think that it will help us identify issues that are coming up that people are encountering that sometimes don't find their way to one of those three primary contacts in a particular department. And it may help us identify some training issues with our own materials, or obviously some of the documentation issues that people are encountering. So our portal is going to be opened up. There is no anonymous login, so you can use the knowledge base anonymously without logging in. But from a portal perspective, if you want to record an issue or a problem, or you found a bug, you will have to log in. So there will be the option for setting up your ID and all of that kind of thing. And Rashab and Scott are making that a reality. So another update, our move to the cloud is going along quite well. Our own internal cloud instance is up and running. And for example, we had a new customer today just given access for a 2-week trial period to 10.3. So, sorry, I should say a new potential customer. So we have the ability to provide short-term environments a lot more easily than we have had in the past. And that's the way we're going to be moving with our consultants as well. So they will have access to potentially multiple different environments in different versions if they're working at more than one customer. We are working on some new accelerators, things to help organizations and groups using QualiWare show value faster, and one of them is our quality management and compliance management accelerator. So we're actually taking a quality management system from QualiWare and generalizing that so that we can more easily apply it to a number of different ISO standards or other types of compliance activities. So, perhaps drawing a little bit on what Kevin Wilson is doing with D&D with their policy management compendium. The generalization that we put in place for compliance management could be applied, to business units that need to manage that, or need to track, are we compliant with the latest Treasury Board policy suite that's just come out. So we're currently working on that, and I think our first customer for that will be Industry Canada, the Canadian Intellectual Property Office. As I mentioned before, we are putting up some new videos. So if you go to the CloseReach YouTube channel, there are different playlists there, and Shanti has started to record a series of additional videos to provide more information and more documentation about certain capabilities within the tool. Obviously, the user group meetings are up there in their entirety, and where we have specific types of presentations, we're sectioning those out. So for example, the talk that Jacob gave about QualiWare and cybersecurity or risk management, those are in separate videos, so you don't have to try to find your way through the whole 2-hour period. Here's a specific specific talk. And Mike Haley, for example, has provided some around CVP and collaborative business planning, and also about the new lean models and activities that that they're incorporating into that QualiWare add-on. So we're going to put a link to that on our main page, but you can also get there from the support portal. We have no progress right now on the GCEA solution contract. CBSA needs to, Bruno needs to have some conversations with PSPC about the follow-on to the current contract, which ends the end of next May. So beyond that, we'll be on the salsa, but hopefully we'll also have another contract in place going forward. So if there are licenses you need to procure, the easiest way right now is through the contract. I want to introduce a new team member. You heard he was on the last meeting and he was on this one. Rick Richardson has joined us as a senior enterprise architect as part of our QualiWare practice. Rick has a lot of experience in project and change management, working in agile type environments for an actual software developer, and also in the professional services space over his many years in Ottawa. Rick worked for us at National Defense in CanSoftCom, which is one of their secure business groups, shall we say. And that was 2014 through, partway through 2016. So he comes back to us with some previous QualiWare knowledge and is helping us revise all of our current training materials as he ramps himself up. Rick, do you want to add anything?
Oh, that's a pretty good introduction, Kevin. Thanks for that.
Fully bilingual, lots of EA experience, both from a business and a technical perspective. So, and we're looking for billable work for Rick. So anyhow, the other thing is, if you're looking at your screen there, you'll see that there's a report on business logo there. So CloseReach was placed in Canada's top growing companies by the Globe and Mail. And the current report on business has the 2020 list of companies. And there were, they had lots of applications. It was kind of a rigorous process where you had to explain what you're doing and show your growth over the last 3 years. And they took the top 400 companies. So CloseReach made that list, which we're really happy about. We were number 354, so we have lots of room to move up.
It's a start.
But it's a start. Well, and actually, this is not just IT companies. This is all kinds of companies across the country, which says a little bit about our employees and consultants' ability to deliver. I mean, you don't grow a business year over year and make a list like this without good people and good customers. Repeat customers that are coming back, that like what we're doing and want to use the company, and good resources, employees and consultants who are able to deliver on an ongoing basis. So, really congratulations to all of them as well.
Okay, Kevin, really quick, did the translation accelerator?
Yes, the translation accelerator. We are doing some testing in 10.3 and have identified. You recall in 10.2 we updated the accelerator to include templates that were being overlooked, not included. And we seem to have a little bit of that happening in 10.3. So we're doing some testing on that right now, and we expect that to be resolved in the next week to 2 weeks. Actually, Rick, you may also want to talk about the 10.3 bug that you found about repositories. Because anybody who's creating repositories in 10.3, you may want to know about this.
Okay, just briefly on the 10.3 desktop, if you're working with a diagram, and this applies to any of the diagram templates, on the right-hand side you have a panel that has 2 tabs, a symbols tab and an actions tab. The symbols tab content changes for each diagram, obviously, because it's contextual. The actions tab is consistent across all of it's the same actions across all of the diagram templates. And what we discovered is that there's a bug in that particular, and this particular build that we got. So that 10.3 list is missing a couple of important actions, one of them being the heat maps for some of the process diagrams. So if that's something that you're working with, it just to alert you, I know that the QualiWare people are already on top of this, working on it. I'm not sure of the resolution date, but the issue is out there and it is definitely being addressed.
Rashad, we have a workaround, don't we?
Yes, we do have it, Scott. Yes, we do have a workaround. You basically what you have to do is create the repository in US English, and then go into the service panel or the services in the repository administrator and change the languages to what you want the repository to be.
So that's something that the repository administrators would do if they're creating new repositories. That's a way around this problem.
And that will be up in our support portal, right? We've posted that in the knowledge base.
It's gonna. I still have to get Rashad to review it, and then it'll be up probably tomorrow.
Perfect.
So anybody creating repositories in 10.3, something to to note that the architect's using that actions, if they're using that actions tab, on diagrams, it won't have all of the folders and all of the predefined functions.
Hi, this is James here. So it's just only creations of new repositories. Existing repositories will be fine?
Yeah.
Existing is fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Kevin?
Kevin,
okay.
I have a question. It's
Sure.
Carol. It might sound a bit of a dream, but TBS has so many standards available and they're all over the place. They're all open data, really. But if you guys are already negotiating with them, wouldn't it be nice to have the list of those standards directly in the tool available? The problem with us going and getting them and getting external links to them is you need to have somebody that manages them maybe once a year because they can change, and you have to review and make sure that they're all updated. So it would be nice if we could tap into all of those standards that TBS has for like accessibility. They've got for web development, they've got all kinds, there probably 50 of them. So it might be something you might want to pursue with them, and it would be good for us to have it as part of the tool, like we have Archimate and BPMN and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's something to think about.
If you know the people that we need to be talking to there, more than happy to.
Okay, well, I'll try to fix that.
That's always the most difficult part, right?
Is to find the people.
Who's responsible for this thing?
Exactly. That's exactly it. There could be multiple people too doing all these standards as well, right? So
I wish there were a centralized list. I mean, it's easy with ISO, right? You go to
Yeah.
ISO and you buy the standard, or and you get a download, or GDPR. It's it's all the stuff is well published, and I mean
But
some
these,
of that.
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Some of that's already. I mean, some of it is available. For example, BPMN is a standard that Treasury Board has identified for process management.
Yeah.
Where BPMN is supported in the tool.
Yeah.
So, but I get what you're saying about sort of some of the other standards or policy things.
Yeah.
It's just finding the right people. So more than willing to talk to them. If you guys can provide us with that information.
I'll keep an eye open for you, and I'll let you know for sure. Oh,
more than willing. Yep.
Yeah, another thing would be like these standards that you're talking about, like the GDPI. I know that's part of the tool, right?
Yep. GDPR, and also APQC. If people know what that is, it's a actually, Gail, you know that stuff. Maybe you can give us a description. The APQC stuff.
Well, it's a business process model, very high level. Mostly, in my interpretation, is it's very IT oriented.
Although they do have different functional areas, like there is a finance, framework. There's, again, depending on the kind of business you're in. I know that there is a government section as well, but but we can APQC is kind of a standards and performance organization, and QualiWare, for example, built a link to them to be able to load those models directly into QualiWare. SCORE, if anyone knows what that is, that's supply chain.
Yeah.
We can import, that model can be represented in the tool. I know that decision management notation is something that some departments are starting to use more. That is supported in the tool. And actually what QualiWare has been doing about Archimate, for example, to make sure that the tool is compliant with the latest standard within Archimate. I mean, they've just, one of the things that's coming in the new version in Archimate, when you have a frames and frame to buy relationship, where things are sitting on top of another object, I can look at that, that relationship is automatically recorded by QualiWare, and when I drag it off the object, that relationship goes away. In Archimate, in Archie, the tool, it will automatically then draw a line to that other object. While QualiWare is adding that, for example, in the next release. So, they are concerned with looking at, major notations and major standards, and where possible, are incorporating that into the tool. But so if there's specific Government of Canada stuff, that's definitely something that we might have to look at more locally here at CloseReach. But we can get QualiWare engaged as well. If it's web accessibility standards, compliance standards that are global, then we can definitely look at that.
I'll get you the name at TBS.
Thank you.
Another thing that I'm a little. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt anyone?
Yeah. Hi, it's Earl here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep.
My team has been working with Treasury Board on BPMN notation, and we've actually taken a different, probably not a shortcut, but a relook at the BPMN notation that we do use, because there's over 200 objects in QualiWare that use BPMN notation, and we've narrowed it down to approximately 50 or so that we can get a good standard and a good baseline of maps. When someone else from another department looks at our maps, they can understand most of the notation without having to open up a BPMN book and decipher what this little hand means or what this little thing means. So I know that we were working closely with Treasury Board, and for policy related to IT, it's usually the CIO shop there that will deal with standards. So if anybody's looking there, they might find some guidance on who does policies related to obviously security, but also issues around enterprise architecture, TOGAF frameworks, etc. So I would try the CIO office and then work down from there.
I mean, we have the TOGAF thing covered because we have mappings from the various TOGAF elements right into QualiWare already defined. So if somebody wants to, follow that framework, that stuff's already defined. And, we can give you an architecture framework diagram that that reflects all that, and it's set up for exactly the right diagrams and attributes. BPMN, I can definitely relate to what you're saying. I mean, BPMN is great for the technical side, but from a business perspective, if you use all of those objects, you lose your business community. So doing what you've done and selecting a common or core set of objects to use is a wise thing to do. And actually, if you've restricted the view on a lot of those others, we might be interested in the configuration that you've used to do that and make it available to other departments.
We didn't restrict them. We've just identified a working model so that we didn't go into QualiWare and said we're not using this gateway. What we said with Treasury Board is these are the gateways that we would like to use, and we didn't want to restrict the capability of the software. We just wanted to restrict what symbols we would use together to come up with a common parlance to say.
So best practices.
We're going to use 3 gateways only, not 10 gateways, for example. Yeah. And here's the 3 gateways: inclusive, exclusive, parallel. Boom, boom, boom. And it just makes it a little easier to do it that way. Go into the system.
We'd be interested in looking at your documentation around that and sharing it with other departments.
Well, I can ask Treasury Board and we can share it at the next update.
Yeah, we have for sure.
Well, I do have it, but it hasn't been updated since October, so we'd have to go back and finalize it.
One of the best consultants wrote something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin, I tell you, apparently since 2007, TBS has mandated all departments to use TOGAF as their enterprise architecture framework. And I mean, a lot of people went on training. It gives you, all of the inputs, the outputs, the approach, and the steps. It's, to me, pretty straightforward to implement. And I understand the tool has all the templates available, but what we're lacking is the methodology. How do you connect all of these different phases together? It'd be nice if the tool had a TOGAF kind of twist so that you could follow the ADM process without much effort. Because I believe that the departments are struggling in implementing TOGAF. I understand we have other frameworks in place that might have to be tailored a little bit, but it's just, I find there's an interface missing for TOGAF in the tool.
Okay.
Any thoughts on that?
So offline, I'll show you some of the documentation that already exists talking about that, and I can actually show you the architecture framework that's already been developed that would be used for sorting and gathering that kind of information in a TOGAF kind of way. So yeah, I can definitely give you some information around that, and we can talk further about sort of what you see missing, and that's definitely something that we'd be interested in in addressing, because every department is has their own way actually of looking at TOGAF and what they're going to use and what they're not, and it makes it hard between departments then to share information, right, and to share content. So anything that we can do to standardize that, and tying into what Earl's talking with Earl about the BPMN stuff. Anything that we can share, in a broader community, more than interested.
We can talk offline on that if you want.
Okay, perfect, great.
So that actually leads into, that's a good setup actually. Thank you very much. That actually leads into the next part of the meeting. And I just wanted to give you an update. We talked about this in our last user group meeting, and we are going to be collecting feedback to provide into QualiWare on the product from all of our clients. So I just wanted to give a little update on that to explain a little bit about the methodology and the form that we're going to be using. Some of you will be involved in those discussions. So 3 times per year, we're going to go out to our client base to gather information about the product. You'll initially receive an email with a form attached to it, and it's intended for the primary and secondary and technical contacts at each client that have been identified to take this form and yourselves provide feedback, but also talk to your user community about their input as well. So Carol, as you were mentioning some ideas of things that are missing, we're going to have an opportunity to consolidate this information, rank it in terms of importance to us, and provide it directly to QualiWare. So rather than each department or each client that we have having to do this on their own, we're going to do it together as one unit and provide that input to QualiWare. So you will see from us over the next couple of days an email explaining this methodology with the form that I just mentioned to be sent out. We'd like you to fill out the form after you've discussed it with your various constituents and send it back to us. We'll have a meeting at that point with you to discuss the feedback and make sure we understand it and do a preliminary ranking. And that meeting will happen with each client individually. And then when we get all of the feedback together, we're going to summarize it, send it out to you again for confirmation and re-ranking, and that will be sent to QualiWare. So 3 times a year is what we figure we can manage in terms of the volume of work involved. And then, of course, we'll share any response that we received and updates that we get from QualiWare on the information that we've provided to them. So what we're trying to do here is provide a little more structure and formality about the things that we see in the tool that need to be resolved, or new features that we're looking for, etc. So that's a little bit of information about that.
In the past, and I'll use an example. National Defense, for example, was quite far along in their use of QualiWare. So, with a direct connection, to us and to QualiWare, things that they needed or thought they needed have been implemented in the tool. And we really want that experience for everyone, in the EA community and the QualiWare community here and across the country. We have other customers outside of government that, have their own needs and requirements. So this really is to, again, engage with the QualiWare user community in Canada and pull this information together so that we can hopefully drive some kind of change, in QualiWare to get what we need.
And so some of you that are on the call today are identified as primary contacts or secondary or technical contacts at each of our clients. Some of you aren't, and you're in the business. So the hope is that, collectively, we put together this feedback and send it to QualiWare, like Kevin said, to have a little more what's the word, force behind what we're asking for. This is just a little example of the kinds of things that we're going to ask you for based on, this is not the entire form. I just took a little snapshot to make it so that you could see it clearly. But new functionality desired, functionality to be improved, or current issues that need to be resolved. Even if it's things that have already been logged as support tickets, if they've been out there for a while and have not been resolved, we need to we need to bring that up to the surface, especially, and then get it ranked in terms of importance. So things to do with the web client or the Windows client as an architect, the collaboration or the Plus license, QIS related issues, and then some common things that are across the entire platform. So it's not an exhaustive list on the form, it's just a little snapshot, but we'll be sending this out to you within the next few days and following up to book our first meeting. Okay, last but not least, before I let you all go, unless there's other questions when we're finished, in October, our featured speaker is going to be Michael Seeger from Interact Coach, which is an application powered by QualiWare, and Mike is on the call today. Not to put you on the spot at all, I put together just a little explanation. It's an interactive tool that provides you with the ability to have training materials with workflow diagrams to allow your customer contact personnel to have up-to-date information to handle all kinds of different scenarios in a contact center. So I just put like a little tiny snapshot in here. This is meant as a teaser. Mike is going to give us a demonstration of this product and will be available to answer any questions. But this is just a little example of obviously a call flow script that was developed in QualiWare. So look forward to that for next meeting, and he will be joining us to provide us with a demo. And that is everything I think we have for today. Do we have any questions about anything? Any other items that anyone wants to talk about?
I wanted to bring up an issue about in QualiWare 10.3. There was the addition in the associated field of objects, the UN, United Nations tab. And so we brought it up in our last change meeting and had a bit of a discussion that this seemed to be something that was not like the other things. And we were told that might be, and maybe it's through the process that you just discussed, that something like that would be brought up to say, why would you add something at that level of a object, something that's much more political, let's say. Something didn't seem to quite fit in that area anyway, so it was a bit of a concern for us, and we wanted to bring that up.
So QualiWare added some things about the things you see around there are part of the UN standards for sustainability and
sustainable development.
Sustainable development. And QualiWare, different countries have committed to to being part of that, and different companies are looking at how they allow companies and governments to monitor and track that kind of stuff. And that's really where this is coming from, adding this into the tool. GDPR, if you look, there's a fair bit of information around that standard in the tool, because QualiWare has a large number of customers in Europe, obviously. And any companies or any organizations, even in North America, that are dealing with Europe have to be compliant to that standard. And there are other countries that are looking at that standard from a privacy perspective as well. So you're going to see, again, this is part of QualiWare. We talked a little bit with Carol about different standards and things. So they're taking more of a world view, in terms of sustainability and things that are going to be of interest, outside of, a purely perhaps IT architecture perspective, more around business and governance and things like that. Again, the tool allows you to hide that information if you don't want it. maybe it's not in the right place, and that's something that we can raise as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's,
Associate has always been kind of a bucket,
yeah,
for things that don't fit other places, and until the whole sustainability initiatives and movement sort of gain a lot more visibility, it's a place that they could put it, I believe.
mm-hmm. Yeah, the GDPR isn't everywhere like that, and so that's why we just find it a bit odd. And yeah, obviously, they have a European market, and we're aware that that would be a key interest to them, and that they want to respond to these things. But again,
Associates a template or a dialogue rather that's on every template. So putting it there makes it, whether it's relevant or not to a particular template or object, just by virtue of being in that dialogue, it's going to be present. But easy enough to hide.
Well, we don't know the impact. If you did down the road, is that going to cause a problem? We just had another template where we had added something, and then QualiWare actually it looks like it's fixing one of our problems, but now it's adding that content where we added something. So now we have a conflict. Right. So it's going to get a little bit more tricky every new version. The more customization we do, and to balance that. But anyway, that's something that we probably bring up in the feedback.
Yes,
D&D's probably done more customization than any other organization that we deal with. So yeah, you're gonna hit that, and some of those customizations sort of followed the best practices that we'd set up, trying to put it all in a particular dialogue, and others, not. So, but
okay, thank you, and congratulations on your Globe and Mail win.
Thanks very much.
Winning the top several hundred.
Okay, any other questions? Things that folks want to discuss before we wrap things up? Okay.
As I mentioned, we are trying to put a lot more information up in our knowledge base off of our support portal and up on YouTube. So it should be 2 places that people can go, for some specific detailed information. And we are working with QualiWare's new customer success department on improving, what we see as some gaps in the center of excellence. So
definitely. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, I will say thank you very much for joining us. Stay tuned for October's meeting, and an agenda, of course, will be sent out in a couple of weeks, and we look forward to seeing you all there. And we are looking for organizations that want to share what they're doing, share their experiences with other people, obviously in the user community. I mean, that's the purpose behind these meetings. So, if there's things that you've experienced, want to share, to show people, then, we'd appreciate, you stepping up and letting us record you. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening. All right.
You too.
Thanks.
Good evening.
Bye, everyone.
Enjoy the nice weather. The cold weather's coming.
Thanks, Cecile.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.